You're all very welcome to the Faculty of Veterinary Science here at Juniortukkie, and I especially want to welcome our students and learners who are considering a career in veterinary science. You are especially welcome, and I trust that your time here will be very valuable and profitable, and you'll learn a lot during your short time while visiting the faculty. Juniortukkie, you may not be aware, and by Juniortukkie we mean the teaching faculty this side of the road and the government research facility across the road, has a very illustrious history. In fact, the history of Juniortukkie really started well over 100 years ago when research into some very dangerous diseases of animals was pioneered here on the complex. And the name Juniortukkie is famous around the world for the diseases that were investigated for the very first time here in South Africa. Furthermore, some of the individual researchers, in fact, my great predecessor, the very first dean of this complex, some of those researchers actually had the organisms that they investigated, and therefore the diseases associated with those organisms, they were named after these people. So our brand as Juniortukkie, as part of the Faculty of Vet Science and the University of Pretoria, is easily an internationally recognizable brand of which we're hugely proud. And of course, we therefore follow in some very great steps. But let me immediately start with two questions. First of all, why veterinary science? Why do I stand up here and say to you learners and students, this is the place to be? And secondly, why here at Juniortukkie? Well, there are a huge number of reasons why I think being a vet is the ultimate career. And you will have to admit that I'm a little biased, okay? But let me give you just two key broad reasons. I've only got about 10, 12 minutes, then I have to go next door. But let me just give you two key reasons. For me, the first and most important reason is that it is a very broad profession. If you become qualified in very many other disciplines, you qualify into a fairly narrow discipline. If you're a person who likes working with animals, or likes research, or likes a variety, likes the outdoors, likes the indoors, the veterinary profession gives you huge scope for being involved in a wide range of veterinary disciplines. So we've got the classical vet. That's the person who treats cats and dogs and wildlife and snakes and even insects. That's part of it. And that's the most famous and stereotypical part. But there are vets who are involved in government. There are vets who sit in government ensuring that the food that you and I eat is of the highest standard, of looking after the economic security of our country by trying to promote both the export of animal health products and making sure that the products of animal origin that are imported are also of an equally high standard. There are vets who are involved in industry, working in terms of developing drugs and vaccines. There are vets who are involved in public health, where they're involved in abattoirs and meat inspection to ensure that the meat we eat is of a very sound quality. I think most of us, if not all of us, take for granted that when we go into a supermarket and buy a slab of beef, and I've only been back in the country a couple of years, and it was a bit of a shock to me to discover that South Africans don't consider chicken as real meat. Very early on, when I arrived here, I went to a braai. I hosted a braai, and I had chicken and beef. And the guests looked at the chicken and went, "We don't eat salad," okay? But we take for granted when we go to the supermarket and we buy that meat that it is safe, it is sound, it isn't full of drugs or antibiotics, it isn't full of organisms. There are vets who are pivotally involved in that part. And then we have vets who are involved in research. And a large part of our function as a faculty is not only to train young veterinarians, but also to engage in research in terms of diseases, in terms of handling and production of animals, in terms of producing productivity. The list is huge. So if you're a budding veterinarian, your career options are vast. And that to me is one of the most important attractions. But the second and more personal reason why I think being a vet is so important is this. Every veterinarian employed as a veterinarian has the huge privilege and responsibility, may I say, of making an impact in people's lives. The veterinary profession is called a caring profession because when we touch people, when we engage with people, be it a person who's brought a sick animal, be it research or government work or public health or whatever it is, the decisions and the interactions and the work we do impacts on people's lives in a very direct way. And I think, again, that's a huge privilege and a huge responsibility that we have to play in society. But why Onderstepoort? Why do I stand up here and encourage you to come to Onderstepoort? Well, let's get rid of the obvious answer first, shall we? You've no choice. As the only veterinary faculty in the country, we've got the monopoly. So if you want to do vet science here, you come here. Of course, I jest, okay, at least in terms of my expression. But we are the only training faculty in this country at the moment. Government, and we're supportive of that, is actively considering a second faculty because this country needs more vets. And we support that and are doing our best to contribute. But at the moment, we are the sole provider of South African trained veterinarians. And again, that's a huge privilege, but it's a huge responsibility. Because the work we do as a faculty, and you guys coming in, and ladies who are going to come into this place, must know that you represent the future of the entire veterinary profession in this country. What a privilege, what a responsibility. But why Onderstepoort? Well, first of all, let me say, and it's no idle boast, we have an excellent standard of education and research in this facility. We have a hugely proud history, and I hope and I trust that we have continued that history. We are recognized internationally for the quality of our education and the quality of our facilities. We're the foremost faculty in Africa. Of the, I think, 90 plus faculties in Africa, we're easily at the front of that. We're the only faculty in Africa that is recognized internationally. You may be aware that of a doctor or a vet and some other professions like engineers and architects, when you go practice overseas, you have to register with a council or a registration body in order to work in that country. Well, given the quality of our education, we have what is called reciprocity with several overseas countries. So our graduates can go straight to the UK, straight to New Zealand, to Australia and several other parts of the world, and without registering can practice, without writing an entrance exam, all they have to do is register with a council and they're allowed to practice immediately without having to write that exam. And that's a recognition of the quality of our education program. It's well known around the world. But there's more to it than that. If you come to Onderstepoort, you embark on a journey. We as a faculty are on a journey, not only to educate our veterinary students. I was welcoming our first year students a couple of weeks ago. And I said to them, my vision is not only to train veterinary students to become veterinary graduates. If that's all we do, I feel we failed. Our job is to train citizens of South Africa. And as a faculty, we are hugely committed to ensuring that our vets are trained in such a way that we meet the needs of South Africa in the 21st century. That means that we have a strong focus on food production, of smallholder production, of poverty reduction. That's a great challenge for us that we're actively engaging in. We're also hugely committed to the process of transformation. We want to ensure that our veterinary students and our veterinary staff meet the demographics of the society in which we live. There is no question, and I have to watch my time. You know what lectures are. We can ramble on and on and on, okay? And I've got some ladies sitting there who are going to start throwing stuff at me if I go on. But let me just say this. It would be dishonest for me to say it is a tough thing to, it's not a tough thing to get into vet science. It's hugely tough. But I want to encourage every one of you to apply To apply. You need to have good grades, you need to have a well-rounded education, but apply. It's like many vet schools around the world, the number of people who wish to do it far exceed the number of places that are available. It is also a tough program. Why do I say that? Well, let's compare the doctor. You get sick, you go to the doctor. How many species does your doctor have to deal with? Big species, long species, round species, one species. Okay? We've got to get into our veterinary heads. Cats, dogs, pigs, sheep, cows, wildlife, snakes, birds, poultry. The list is endless. All in the space of 6 years. That's a tough station. It's a tough course. But it's a hugely rewarding course. And for our students who struggle, and I want to encourage every person here just to let you know that every student struggles at some time in their program. That we have a range of support mechanisms to help students through that process. Finally, what happens when our students get to the end of their studies? 6-year program, it's a difficult program, it's a valuable program, it's a program I think that's hosted on a superb campus with wonderful facilities. When they get to the end, you know the first thing they begin to realize? Their education has only just started. But they know that this little thing on top of their shoulders is packed with knowledge, and they get scared because they now have to go and apply it. And when they've been qualified for 1, 2, 5, 15 years, like me as an oldie, you look back and you realize, wow, that was only the start of my education. But more importantly, I think they know that they enter a profession where they can earn a high level of income. But they can be very satisfied because of the reasons that I gave before, that the profession they enter is not a profession only of which we're hugely proud, but it's a profession that makes a real difference in the society in which we live. So again, may I welcome you. Please use the opportunity while you're here to ask as many questions, see as many things as you want. I think the subsequent presentations will hopefully answer, I'm sure, many of your burning questions. If not, we're here to help you and to answer your questions. Enjoy your visit, and I look forward to seeing many of you in the program in the coming years. Thank you very much.